What's up everyone, SLEW here. We got a voiceover video. We're doing some oil painting. It's gonna be exciting. We're gonna talk about the struggles, a bunch of struggles, and just walk through the whole painting process. This isn't the painting, these are just some clips of my buddy who visited the studio about a month ago just to come hang out, and I actually sat for him for about 40 minutes to do a little oil painting, little life portrait. It's super fun, you know, sadly the corona is in effect and no one can come to the studio, and even before I wasn't getting many people in to do portraits, but painting from life is super fun, super epic. It's actually how I learned to paint. I went, like my first oil painting was at an atelier where they have live models who come in, you know, they strike a pose and hold it for the whole week. They tape it down so they can return, and it's like 4 hours each day of the same pose. So it's super fun. Painting from life is great. I only really paint from photos now in the studio, which is a bummer. But you know, my friend, another friend came to the studio, you can see right here, and I wanted to paint him a little. And this is the painting that I end up working on after he's gone for a while, which is the main chunk of this video. But you know, I'm just bringing this softbox over to get some more nice light on his face, kind of to be similar to sunlight, you know, just a soft, cool light. And you can just see me setting up. And hopefully, actually, I'm thinking now as I'm talking to, hopefully do some more live painting once the coronavirus is over, get more people to model for me. That would be dandy. But so you can see the nice soft light on his left cheek there. You know, I like the lighting, but this live portrait, I was just super rusty, not only with painting from life, but just with portraits, and we were goofing around, having fun. So I really wasn't very focused, and we only ended up doing this for about 25 minutes. He sat for me. I'm kind of glad though, you could see this crazy gnarly glare, which doesn't look too nice at all. But I knew even if I spent an hour on it or longer, I was gonna wanna work on it later. So I took a picture, and this is about 2 days later. It's dry, that first layer. You can see I was pretty off with a lot of those proportions, but you see the iPad to the right of me with a photo of my buddy. And so we're just kind of getting some lines down, finding the figure. And so this whole portrait is a huge struggle, and it's not super successful. We'll talk about that more. But you know, actually any portrait I sit for 4 hours in focus is not a failure, I'd say. It's just not the most successful portrait. But right here, I'm mixing paint from the Zorn palette. I don't do this often, and I wanted to try this effect technique, I guess you could say, with these color zones. Ben Lustenhauer, I'm botching it. He's an amazing artist on YouTube, makes videos, and he has so much knowledge. And this is one of his paintings, and it's these color zones. You can see yellow, red, and kind of cool by the chin, red cheeks and nose, yellow forehead. And that kind of mimics like the liveliness of the face where the blood flows, and it's just a cool thing. A lot of people do it. So I'm just mixing these colors now. Right here, I'm actually just ivory black and yellow ochre to make a nice green, because my friend has some olivey skin I wanted to get. But we're not mixing, we're kind of using liquid, which is just a medium to help thin down the paint. It dries a little faster. But I don't really usually mix paint like that, pre-mix paint before portraits. I usually just go in, especially with limited palettes like the Zorn palette, titanium white, yellow ochre, cadmium red, and ivory black. But we're just laying in here. And that's, you know, this is the kind of theme. I'm using slightly different techniques than I usually do to paint. But you can kind of see that Balkan stage is very chalky already, which means I use too much white. But the yellowish forehead, you could see the kind of reddish cheeks and nose, and then that cool color. So that's the main kind of focus of this portrait and what I was really trying to achieve. And at the end, you'll see the likeness of the portrait isn't the best, but I did kind of maintain those color zones, which I was pretty happy about. And it's very cool. But like I said, this wasn't the most successful painting. He's my homie, so I know exactly what he looks like, not just having the reference to the right, and it doesn't look the most like him, you know. It's certainly a struggle. Painting's super hard, and I don't always nail the likeness of people. And so this was one of them. Again, like I said, it's not a failure by any means. It was solid, and 4 solid hours of practicing and learning, but you know, wasn't the most successful time. But and it's so interesting watching this process. I love it. That's why I love making these and doing voiceovers, because I'm really just seeing every stroke and the routes I take and what I do. And I say it every video. It's like I use too much white. We'll talk about that later, but I in the beginning try to get these nuanced little details, the crease in the eye or the little shadow in the corner of the lip, these things that don't matter, but when I'm so close painting, like less than a foot away, I think it matters. But I got to remember to really start super general, big shapes, core values, composition, and then as the painting goes on towards the end, slowly refine. That's kind of the strategy that a lot of people do. It seems to bring out the most success, but when me specifically and people get caught up in details in the beginning, it usually falls flat and it doesn't work out. But it's funny, I say that every time and I still do it. Redefining the jawline kind of right there. My buddy has a really pronounced jawline, beautiful, big chin, and we're just rocking and rolling. But you could also see I want to talk about the Zorn palette because it's such a limited palette, and I love it. I've only used it really maybe for 5 or 6 paintings, so I'm quite new to it. But it's super dynamic in terms of the colors you could get, with just these 4 colors. But because there's only yellow and red, and then it's pretty much white and black, to mix colors and high value colors, you use a lot of white. And if you're not careful and you're mixing your paintbrushes with the lights and darks, and especially when there's black and white in there, everything becomes very muddy very easily. And so that's dangerous, what you got to look out for. And the chroma of this painting is not very high, which is a bummer also, which means the saturation, and it's just very chalky because I use too much white, which I do a lot. But right there, I covered the background with a lighter kind of muted green because I really did want to get that profile of his head with the hair. I thought it was blending too much into the darkness before, and I just love the shape of the head, so I wanted to have that more contrasty. And he has this crazy hairdo, so I wanted to see the hair, but you could still see the yellow forehead, reddish cheeks, coolish chin. And right here, I'm really digging it. It looks like my friend a lot. I think maybe the most it does throughout this painting, which is pretty funny, but I don't really know. It's hard, to critique yourself and analyze what you're doing wrong because you're the one doing it. So sometimes you can't really see the mistakes, but it's important to critique yourself also to get other people's opinion. And for me, certainly, without a doubt, the biggest issue I have is with the eyes, which is such a bummer because for portraiture, eyes are without a doubt the focal point. It's kind of the window to the whole soul, not really, but the eyes people look at first, and it's a very defining characteristic, and it's just the focal point. And I struggle so much, and if the eyes are wonky, it kind of skews the rest of the portrait. So it's a bummer that I struggle with eyes the most. Certainly in this one, they're a little wonky, and I think it's something that I certainly need to work on. But if anyone has some tips or would love to give me advice, I'd gladly take it. Strike a conversation in the comments. But yeah, I wish I could send this to other artists. I might just do that because it's a common theme. In a lot of the portraits, the eyes are most challenging for me, and they're a big deal to, kind of nail down. So, yeah, critique is important. I don't get enough of it. I try to do it myself, and I am very hard on myself, and I analyze and look these videos and just in general. But getting other people's opinions, especially weathered artists who know what they're doing, it's certainly valuable. But hey, I'm looking at this and I'm pumped with the facial structure. I'll show the photo at the end. The jawline could have been more exaggerated. I kind of made it a little too curvy. It's more angular, I think, in real life. But the face, the values, the color, it's pretty solid. It's not mega successful, but it's pretty solid. I think just the eyes. I just really, that's the part that really gets me, that takes away from the likeness and just the overall naturalism of this portrait. But I think it's good that I know that. Moving forward, I just gotta spend some more time on the eyes. Maybe I should just do eye studies. It's a pretty good idea. Comment if you want to see some eye studies. I know a lot of artists do that, but yeah, adding, and this is just more chalkiness, sadly. You can see that left cheek in the light. It's just almost looks white. I mean, you could tell it's a little pink hue, and I'm maintaining those color zones, but it could be less chalky, and it could be more saturated, more pink, a light pink rather than a white pink, if you know what I mean. And it's funny, I say this every time, sound like a broken record, and then I don't do it. I don't know if it's lack of discipline or impatience, but is what it is. I just gotta work towards it. I also didn't really like the hair. I liked the hair before when it was kind of just all one mass of dark. We're getting to the end here, but I kind of added some of those brown highlights, and I don't know how I feel about that, but all in all, 4 hours well spent. You can see the picture up there. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this voiceover, this rant. You can see the palette, and let me know what you think. More videos, 2 videos a week. Thanks for listening.